Well, it's a very warm welcome and thank you for joining us on this independent off-tube studio commentary. The game at Craven Cottage has just got underway. Fulham taking on Arsenal. A big game for both sides, with Fulham looking to recover after that disappointing Derby Day defeat against Brentford on Monday night. Arsenal did it the hard way against Bournemouth last Saturday. 2 down at one stage at the Emirates to Bournemouth before they finally clawed it back to 2-2 and getting that late winner in the 7th minute of injury time to send the Emirates into raptures. But with Manchester City winning yesterday, the Gunners also need to get full points today to maintain their lead at the top of the Premier League. It's myself, Paul Szczerbakowicz, and John Hogan taking you through the action. John, this should be a good game. Fulham have been good at home this season. Yeah,
I don't see why they can't win this game, to be honest with you. I think that, you know, Arsenal have been busy on all fronts, haven't they? European football takes a bit out of you. I know that players like Odegaard, he was ill, so didn't play. Not sure that necessarily helps him. But you can be leggy and weary, and let's not forget, I'm not doing down Bournemouth because we all saw what they did against Liverpool. But, you know, they had to wait long and took a long time to overcome them. They've been finding a way. I'm not saying they can't find a way today, but I just have a sneaky fancy that Fulham might just lower their colours today.
Well, we'll wait and see. It's certainly a big game for Fulham. I say they were disappointing against Brentford on Monday night. And Marco Silva told the press after that game that his players will certainly find out during the week just how he expects them to play, because he just didn't feel as though they were at the level they needed to be. Arsenal, of course, having a difficult time against Bournemouth before they finally got the win. But Arsenal in their change black strip today. Just remind you very quickly of the two teams. It's Bernd Leno in goal for Fulham, with a back four of Kenny Tete, Tosin Adebayo, Tim Ream and Anthony Robinson. Harrison Reed and Sasa Lukic are the two holder midfielders, with Bobby De Cordova-Reid, Andreas Pereira and Mano Solomon as the three ahead of them. Alexander Mitrovic as the front man. I'll break off from that because Arsenal did have a chance to get the ball into the box. It was Fulham just dawdling at the edge of their own penalty area. The Gunners won the ball back and it was whipped into the box, but referee David Coote spotting a foul there from one of the Arsenal players as that ball was being played in. For the Gunners, it is Aaron Ramsdale in goal, with a back four of Ben White, William Saliba, Gabriel and Alexander Zinchenko. The three in midfield are Martin Odegaard, Thomas Partey and Granit Xhaka, with Bukayo Saka, Gabriel Martinelli and Leandro Trossard as the attacking three. And it's Fulham trying to play out from the back here down the left-hand side. A ball played up to Mitrovic. He tries to hold it up and turn from William Saliba, and he felt as though he was being fouled, and it looked like he was. Saliba just never really let go of him there.
No, it's right. He's a good lad, but he's up against it today. You know, he's only young, 21, but he's up against an old stager, isn't he? And Mitrovic, who'll pull him around, he'll give him a shove before the ball gets to him. It'll be all that. So that'll be a good battle today. He's certainly big enough, isn't he, Saliba at 6'4", big enough to handle himself, but that'll be one of the key duels today. There'll be little scraps all over the field, I fancy. You know, I'm interested to see how Lukic goes on in midfield. It's going to be difficult for him. You know, there are suspensions, that means he's in. And the other player I'm really interested in watching is Mano Solomon, who's hit some cracking goals recently. I think he really is in fantastic form.
He is, as he's been in great form. He's scored 5 in his last 5 games for Fulham, and he really has taken to the Premier League superbly well. But Arsenal just dawdling a little bit with a throw-on inside their own half. Zinchenko gets that into Xhaka, and then a lofty ball from Zinchenko back into his own penalty area. This is something for Mitrovic to chase. He does chase that down, but it's cleared by Ben White up towards the halfway line, taken down here by Tim Ream. And the Fulham captain playing a ball down the left, trying to get Solomon in, but that one's cleared away by White, and it's now back with William Saliba being closed down here by Andreas Pereira. That's certainly something that Fulham can do, and that's trying to press on Arsenal early. The Gunners do like to play it out from the back, but on this occasion it's easy there for Xhaka, going back towards Aaron Ramsdale. This is one of 3 games that has kicked off at 3 o'clock this afternoon. We've also got Manchester United against Southampton and West Ham against Aston Villa. Those 2 other games are on our service, as indeed is the late kick-off today, the 4:30 kick-off between Newcastle and Wolves. But it's Arsenal making a bit of a mess of playing out from the back there. Fulham's press has paid off. It's out for a throw to the Cottagers down the right-hand side, but Kenny Tete going a long way back towards the halfway line. Played across towards Anthony Robinson, and he runs straight into trouble there in the form of Odegaard, and now it's Xhaka playing the ball forward. Arsenal have got some men over here if they can try and get a pass out, but that's good covering there. Trossard never really had enough time on the ball. It's played back to Thomas Partey. Arsenal still with the chance. It's now down the right-hand side of Bukayo Saka. 2 Fulham players getting in his way. It's now played back towards Thomas Partey. And onto the halfway line here for Gabriel Zinchenko. Over to the left-hand side now for Martinelli. Martinelli's ball into the box. He was looking for the run of Trossard, but that one is easy for Bernd Leno.
Yeah, I'm not sure that Leandro Trossard is really a target man, but nonetheless, he's got to try and do that. Of course, Nketiah and Jesus had both played well in that position. I thought he was inspired bit of work, really getting Trossard in. If he wasn't happy at Brighton and everybody else was, then it was a good idea to let him loose. And I think he's a really good signing. As far as Fulham are concerned, they're looking to make ground down the right hand side. Kenny Tete had stolen a yard there, but they couldn't find him with a long ball. I think here what we've got, Paul, is Arsenal know exactly what they're doing in their 4-3-3 formation. It's kind of like, well, we know what we're doing, you know what we're doing, but can you stop us? I think Fulham in a more unusual situation today. They're 4-2-3-1. I think it doesn't necessarily allow as much ball into Mitrovic as they would like. It's up to Solomon and Bobby de Cordova-Reid to try and find him. But I think he might be starved a little bit today and maybe get a bit isolated, which is just happening at the moment because Fulham can't get on the ball. For me, they're a team who likes to pass the ball. We tend to see them dominate possession in a lot of games they play, but that's not going to be the case today. They certainly won't have it all their own way. Solomon there just pleading for the ball to get to him, but it doesn't. It remains 0-0. Sun shining, though, at Craven Cottage. Very lively tempo, good start to the game, but already my idea that Fulham might just be the team to follow today. I'm just thinking, well, Arsenal are making it look like they're the home team today.
They are making an early impact here, Arsenal, trying to hold on to the ball, and it's going to be a long afternoon, you feel, for the American left-back Anthony Robinson up against Bukayo Saka today, and he crashes into Bukayo Saka there. An easy decision there for the linesman, signalling a free kick to Arsenal and a good chance to get this ball into the box. 8 minutes on the clock. Unofficial independent off-tube studio commentary, goalless here between Fulham and Arsenal.
Yeah, 36 caps for United States, but he was just beaten there by a little in-and-out movement. He actually started his career at Everton, didn't he, Robinson, in the youth team there. I think he was born in Milton Keynes, but he's a USA international, all right.
Free kick to Arsenal, then taken short. Odegaard to Zinchenko. He then plays it to square to Gabriel Martinelli, and he lifts this ball into the box. It was the right idea, but he's overhit that by quite some way. One Gabriel trying to cross it to the other, but Gabriel Magalhaes had no chance. Far too much pace on that one for Martinelli.
Yeah, I think there's no great angle for him there. That's a really difficult ball to get right, isn't it? It drops sort of, almost 5 or 6 yards in front of the Brazilian Gabriel. Well, it's no good. That's why when you cross it from wide, the ball bounces through the box. You've got more opportunity. There was never a good angle there.
Well, Fulham insisting on playing out from the back. Despite the fact there were plenty of Arsenal players at the edge of the area, and Fulham in trouble now here. Arsenal win it back even before the home side get it towards the halfway line, although Odegaard's pass to Trossard is just behind him. Fulham now win it back, and Solomon here does really well, dances away from 4 Arsenal players, but then his pass towards Pereira just a little bit under hit, so Arsenal now have the ball back here with Ben White. Under pressure, just rolls it back towards Gabriel, and Arsenal just quite happy to sit on the ball here now. As John mentioned a moment ago, Arsenal pretty much already sort of changing things here in terms of looking like the home team, in terms of how they're the ones in slow and steady possession and making Fulham chase the ball all over the pitch. But so far, no real work for Bernd Leno.
I'll tell you what it is, though. It's like Arsenal say, right, we're 4-3-3 and we're playing well, you deal with it. They're not going to bend to whatever the opposition are going to do. They're just going to be themselves, and it's like, well, you've got to cope. And all the best teams are like that. So many good teams. Barcelona back in the day, 4-3-3, and it's just like, right, we're going to do to you, and it's how you're going to cope. I think Fulham have kind of changed their shape. 4-2-3-1, I'm not sure suits them today. And like I said, I think Mitrovic is just getting a little bit isolated already.
Well, that's the thing. Fulham must expect there'll be long periods today where they're not going to have a lot of the ball, and that's when Mitrovic is going to be isolated. But the question, that the key for them is, once they do win the ball back, to actually get those players like de Cordova-Reid and Solomon and Pereira as far up the field to support Mitrovic, because, as I say, he's going to struggle to hold the ball up on his own against this Arsenal defence and this Arsenal defensive midfield as well. And here come the Gunners down the left-hand side now with Granit Xhaka inside to Odegaard, back to Martinelli. Now Trossard got pushing forward down the left-hand side, but Fulham, to their credit, are keeping a very good shape. It's not easy for Arsenal to get forward here in open play. back towards William Saliba, and he spots space down the right-hand side here for Saka, although that pass wasn't the best, although the clearance from Anthony Robinson wasn't particularly good either. He gets away with that one. That should have been picked up by Odegaard, but it's swept away in the end by Pereira. But it's not a pass, is it? It's just a clearance in the end.
Yeah, it's really poor that. Do you know what, Fulham, ever since they're coming, in fact, last 5-6 years, maybe before that, have been a possession-based team. They passed the ball really well. But today they're just getting outplayed by this 4-3-3. And if you're thinking, that it sounds maybe like they're a little bit narrow, we just saw Granit Xhaka picking the ball up. Well, we'll just break off here. Come Arsenal again.
Yeah, Odegaard into Trossard, edge of the area. He doesn't have space to shoot, but he finds Martinelli. There's an overlap here from Xhaka. Oh, he just asked a little bit too much. Arsenal perhaps guilty of just overcomplicating that slightly, because at one stage they had 3 players waiting at the edge of the area, but in the end they couldn't get a shot away.
Yeah, honestly, Paul, they look like they've got more players out there, Arsenal, don't they? And, Martinelli's in the box there unmarked, and that's atypical of poor Fulham playing the Premier League, where it's a bit of ball watching, but they're watching this well-honed Arsenal team just pass around them. Xhaka is having an incredible season, playing a different position. But I've seen him left-hand side of midfield, but he's really wide. Bobby Reid wants to be narrow, but you know what? Granit Xhaka doesn't want him to be there, and he's just going to hang out with chalk on his boots and just drag Bobby Reid out wide with him, and he just don't want to be there. And it's really interesting to watch this, but so far, Arsenal have been really good.
They have. They just need to get that final third passing going for themselves, and they should be able to get a chance to get a shot away on goal soon. But for the time being, Fulham have got a bit of possession back here in midfield. It's with Harrison Reed down the right-hand side to Tete. They're called over Reed. Dummies that for Harrison Reed. He runs straight into Gabriel, and Arsenal now win it back here with Odegaard. Under pressure there straight away from Sasa Lukic, who in many ways is lucky to be playing today, because he really should have had a second yellow card towards the end of the first half against Brentford on Monday night, but he is in the team. And of course, big miss is João Paulinho for Fulham. He would be the one who'd be marshalling that defensive midfield had he been, if it wasn't for the fact that this is the second game that he is suspended for. Tete now adjudged to have been fouled there by Leandro Trossard. The Belgian doesn't agree with that, but it was the Dutchman who was brought down, and Fulham will take any chance for a set piece just to get that ball near Arsenal's penalty area.
Yeah, who'd have thunk it, a Belgian fouling a Dutchman, but he did give him a shove there, and Kenny Tete just did enough to get goal side. Always seems to play angry, doesn't he, Leandro Trossard, but he's a terrific player, very good ball player. But now an opportunity for Fulham just to swing the ball in the mixer and see what they can get, because they're a good set-piece team, as the stats suggest. More goals than any other team, bar Liverpool and Tottenham, who are joint top with them with 12 this season from set pieces.
Absolutely, 12 goals from set pieces. It's Andreas Pereira's ball, and just a little bit flat. It's Zinchenko with the header away. Second ball back into the box is picked up by Mitrovic at the edge of the area. Tries to turn that over towards Solomon, who was on the right-hand side, but that one's been cleared. And now Arsenal can go on the counter-attack. If that ball gets through to Martinelli, they would have been through on the counter-attack, but credit to Fulham. 3 Fulham players throwing themselves at that one to stop it reaching the Brazilian. And here come Fulham again now with Andreas Pereira. He tries a diagonal ball into the box. It finds Mitrovic, who is adjudged to have pushed Ben White out the way. And you mentioned Leandro Trossard, who plays with a bit of an angry expression on his face. Mitrovic, I think, very much in the same category.
Oh, he's a different level, isn't he, of angry, really. Did he get a shove on Ben White there? Maybe just a little bit. And that's typical. He just nudges him just before the ball comes. And that's great centre-forward play. But unfortunately for him, David Coote, our referee, spotted that. I think, they're doing well, aren't they, Arsenal, with Ben White in there, who can play centre-back as well as right-back. So even he can muscle up with Mitrovic. And there wasn't much in that, and obviously Ben White was in a good position to jump with the big Serbian.
Say in that situation, I think White's always going to try and show the referee that there was a bit of contact. It's not a case of it being a particularly aggressive foul, but it's just that tactical foul to put an opponent off in jumping for the ball. But here come Fulham now. Chance here as Pereira plays it first time. Deckled over Reed. Dummies this one, leaving it for Kenny Tete. He won't get there first, though. Martinelli does, but he's under pressure, and he's forced to play that back to his goalkeeper. However, was there a touch off Kenny Tete there?
Yeah, it must have been. I mean, he got away with it there. My other thought there is that Bobby Reid, he dummied over the top of the ball, but he probably should have been dragging that into the box with him.
I think that he left a little bit too much for Kenny Tete to do there, absolutely. But Arsenal take this goal kick quickly. Trossard now over towards the right-hand side for White. White into Saka. Back into Ben White. He plays it towards William Saliba. Still goalless in this game, as it is between Manchester United and Southampton, and West Ham and Aston Villa. On the left-hand side here now for Arsenal goes Gabriel Martinelli. Gets the ball away from Tete. Looking for a reverse pass there from Xhaka. That's a great ball. And Martinelli's into the box. He plays that. Oh, it's an own goal! It's an own goal. Martinelli's effort is saved by the goalkeeper, Bernd Leno, but his parry goes straight into Anthony Robinson. And it's a very unfortunate, unavoidable own goal, really, from Robinson's point of view. It all happened in the blink of an eye, but on 16 minutes, Arsenal lead by a 1-0.
Listen, they're good value for that, Paul, because, that was brilliant from Gabriel Martinelli in the first place. You know, he's looking for that give and go, and was he offside?
He might be. There might be a kneecap offside there.
I think that VAR's going to rule this one out. Then let's take a look. He drives forward. It's a good shot, and Leno makes a decent save. It's definitely on target, that shot, and then it just pings off Robinson. But if they pull this back and VAR looks at the offside, then I think they'll chalk it off, and VAR is taking a look now.
Well, it's the own goal scorer, Robinson. He's the one who's just a foot or two behind Tim Ream. So if there is going to be an offside, it's going to be very, very close. The offside replays we're getting now, they tend not to give you the lines too quickly, just to keep the suspense a little bit longer on TV. So we're just getting...
It's hard to say where the line's drawn there. I mean, it looks like he's level. Almost.
It looks like he's level, but then is the shoulder just leaning slightly ahead of Robinson? I mean, Martinelli is ahead of Tete, but I think that Tete is still a little bit further in front than Anthony Robinson is. VAR is still checking this one, so we haven't been able to resume players yet.
It's touch and goal. It's really tight because, it looks like he's offside and that he's run too quickly to get past Tete, but clearly there's a man in the middle there, and if Anthony Robinson was daydreaming, and not playing the defensive line, because look at Tim Ream, he is in line, he's offside.
He's offside, and actually it looks as though it's almost like Tete and Robinson are almost in line with themselves, so it doesn't really matter which one of those two defenders you use. There is an offside against Martinelli. We've now seen it, and now David Coots had it confirmed in his earpiece as well. So there is no goal. It is still goalless here at Craven Cottage, but Mikel Arteta just does that sort of whirling thing with his hands and says, come on, lads, keep going, because like you said, Arsenal would have been value for that goal, and they need to carry on going.
Yeah, they've started really well. Really bright out there. It looks like Villa may have scored. You never know, though. We tend to see goals getting choked off left, right and centre, don't we, nowadays? But anyway, Anthony Robinson will be feeling really pleased there. For one, he played his man on side because he kept the line. And secondly, obviously, the ball pinged off him. It was unfortunate. And he was back trying to help out defensively. He might not be the best player in the world. One thing he's got, he's absolutely express pace, isn't he? Premier League pace and all that. But I thought he worked hard to get back, and then he was unfortunate, and then lucky because he'd helped play Martinelli offside.
Absolutely. So that's certainly a warning for Fulham. I mean, we saw Arteta there just motivating his players to say, come on, keep going. So this may well work as a bit of a shot in the arm for Fulham, a bit of a warning for Fulham as Ollie Watkins gives Aston Villa the lead away at West Ham. They're in all kinds of trouble, West Ham. They had a good win in the Conference League in midweek away in Cyprus. But as things stand, West Ham are in 19th place. But here come Arsenal. They've won the ball back in midfield, and it's Granit Xhaka breaking into the box. He strikes it. He was already falling to the deck, Granit Xhaka, and he probably didn't think he had enough balance to play the pass, so he hit it towards goal anyway. Almost catches out Leno by the post, but it's tipped round for a corner.
Yeah, that's incredible stuff from Granit Xhaka. Just when we think, he's slipped and he's lost his chance, he just toe pokes it, and it's an effort on target. Miraculous, really. And there's nothing that Tosin's done wrong there. He's just stood off him, marking him, thinking he's done his job, and then the next thing, it's an effort on target.
Corner kick to Arsenal then on the left-hand side. There's a whole cluster of Arsenal players waiting at the edge of the 6-yard box, but by the far post. It's played in towards the near post, takes a deflection off a Fulham player. I think it was Sasa Lukic by the near post. It was a low cross played in by Trossard towards Martinelli. But Lukic gets the deflection, and it's out for another corner kick. Trossard to take it again. He waits to see where his teammates have positioned themselves. This stadium, Craven Cottage, is getting bigger by the season, although that stand over on the far side as we look is a listed building, so that can't be improved, but all the other stands are getting bigger and bigger. becoming more of a landmark here on the Thames as that corner kick comes in from the left-hand side. It's played across the box all the way to the right-hand side, swung in now by Thomas Partey, and with that ball still lurking at the edge of the area, edge of the 6-yard box, I should say, Anthony Robertson couldn't take a chance, but it's a good header because he puts it out. I thought he put it out for a throw, but it looks like he has gone out for another corner. So Arsenal piling on the pressure, but can't quite get the set piece right.
Yeah, but they're creeping closer, aren't they? They're playing so well. You know, any thoughts that they might be tired after their midweek exertions, forget it. They look like they're on song at the minute.
They do. It's Leandro Trossard once again from the corner. Puts it into the box. Oh, and it's headed into the back of the net. It just finally a decent ball in. It looks like it's Gabriel Martinelli with the header. And Arsenal do take the lead on 21 minutes. They did take the lead on 18. That was chalked off for an offside. But on this occasion, I don't think there's going to be any saviour from VAR. And Arsenal, who have been promising to take the lead since the start of this match, looks like they finally have done so now. Yeah,
they've been irresistible, haven't they? They've just played so well here and really laid siege to the Fulham goal. Let's take another look at the ball when it comes in. Yeah, it's just a great leap from the big man. He gets there and he's happy enough with that. There's so much movement there. They're good at set piece. They've got some big guys, haven't they, Fulham? But it's just a stack of movement that they couldn't cope with. Leno couldn't come up. There's too many players in his way. And it's just Gabriel gets there first. We'll take another look at their heads.
He does. I think that the big problem for Fulham there is that their tallest player in the box, Tosin Adebayo, he was getting into a bit of a pushing match with Thomas Partey. And by the time he realised what the ball was, it was too late to recover. Because I would back Tosin to beat Gabriel in an aerial battle, but they need to be able to both set off for the ball at the same time. But you could tell Gabriel was absolutely delighted with that goal, as indeed is the Arsenal bench. And he's straight over to high-five one of the coaches as well. Maybe somebody who was telling him where to position himself for a set piece, and it's paid off. But it took a while for Arsenal. Not only has it taken 21 minutes, but they needed 3 corner kicks in a row there to finally get a good ball in.
Yeah, but like I say, any thought that there might be a struggle for them today. I mean, right from kickoff, right from the get-go, they've been really strong, haven't they? And they, dare I say, I mean, this is a kiss of death, but they look like a team that's bound to get a title. You know, they look like they're on their way. You know, not only have they had little slices of luck recently in that last-minute goal against Bournemouth and all that, but they just look good. You know, if it looked good and if you get the performances, you tend to get the results as well, and all things seem to be going their way.
Well, we'll see what sort of response we're going to get from Fulham now. They're in possession, although Mitrovic's ball trying to switch play over towards the left for Solomon doesn't quite work out. And then Lukic just missed the ball in midfield, and suddenly Arsenal are on the counter. Bukayo Saka at the edge of the area just wanted a little bit too much time. Credit to Fulham there for coming back and closing him down. Now Tosin trying to play out from the back and trying to send his teammate Odegaard over read off on the run, but Arsenal win it back and just calm things down in midfield now here with Zinchenko in this slightly unofficial central midfield role that he tends to put himself in sometimes. Here come Arsenal again down the left. Martinelli breaking into the box. He's been well tracked there by Kenny Tete. It's out for another corner, and we've reached the halfway point in this first half. 23 minutes gone. It is Fulham 0, Arsenal 1. It will be John to take us through to half time.
Yeah, thanks, Paul. I've been ever so impressed by the Gunners today. They just look red hot, almost unstoppable. I've definitely seen better Arsenal teams, or seen better individuals in Arsenal colours. Henri Overmars and all that, Petit Vieira in midfield, and Adams and Bold at the back. But this is as cohesive as I've ever seen them. They're playing so well as a team, and you really got to doff your cap to Mikel Arteta, who's really fashioned this. And here we go again, another corner. Look at the movement again. He's brilliant. This time, Tim Ream gets the first header. Bukayo Saka, though, heads it back into the box. And the lines have still not been cleared. At the moment, they're just proving hard to stop. And I did Man City yesterday. It was really struggled to break down the Palace for a long period. It did look like that was going to be a game they were going to win. Oh, that was a right old strike then from the edge of the area then. Saliba just giving it a go, a pot shot, but he really wasn't too far away there.
No, he wasn't. This was Fulham. They initially cleared their lines after the corner kick was played in, but then Arsenal won it back just before the halfway line. Saliba just saw it open up in front of him. He does put his laces through it. It was always rising a little bit too much there from William Saliba, but as I say, with the confidence that Arsenal players have, I don't think anyone from Arsenal would mind him having a go from there.
No, it's right. He hit the ball sweetly, and like you said, he just got under it a little bit. Yeah, I didn't think Man City were great yesterday. I
don't think they've been particularly great for the last month. They've been getting results, but their style of play has been quite slow, I think, at times.
Yeah, it has. They didn't quite need De Bruyne off the bench, but he did come off the bench just after they'd grabbed their goal. anyway, we'll break up because Arsenal now playing a lovely, neat brand of football. They've had their problems with injuries this season, like everybody else. And when Jesus got injured, I just thought, well, that could be the end of that. He'd started so brightly, but they've found a way. Nketiah scored goals, and like I said, getting Trossard at the right time, who is an intelligent footballer who can play in all sorts of positions. Was an inspired signing from them. Just the ball gets under the foot there of Ben White, but then his out ball is terrific, and he's Granit Xhaka, another man who's absolutely playing out of his skin at the minute and in a much better position. He forces the ball into the feet of Trossard, who drags it and then crosses it to the far post. An opportunity, and it's headed in the back of the net. And they've made it two. They are irresistible today. Martinelli with a free header at the far post. 2-0 Arsenal.
Well, it seemed to just hang in the air for too long there. You felt as though there was going to be a Fulham player that was going to react to it, but it just floated towards Martinelli. And a creative midfielder like that, a winger like Martinelli, he'll love a header because he's normally the one putting crosses in. But you look at the space, it's Granit Xhaka that picks the ball up deep in his own half. It's a great run from Xhaka, but where are the Fulham midfield? They're just completely gone to pieces, tracking back, and then when it gets to Trossard, it's a great cross from Trossard. When you talk about standing the ball up to the back post, that's exactly what he does there.
Yeah, it's a lovely ball. Kenny Teddy can't stop him putting that ball in. And you know what, Robinson, just the wrong side. Again, two centre-backs ball watching, and this has been Fulham's folly in the Premier League the last time they're up as well, when Tim Ream was there as well. The other thing about this 4-2-3-1 is, I said Bobby Reid there is watching Granit Xhaka go wide and pick the ball up. He was nowhere near him. At a certain point you think, well, if you're giving good players that much space, then you're going to get done, And he put a lovely ball into the path of Trossard. Even then, Kenny Teddy did his level best to get with him. It looks like West Ham might have grabbed a goal back.
Yeah, West Ham have equalised at home to Aston Villa. It's Said Benrahma from the penalty spot, making it 1-1 at the London Stadium. Still goalless between Manchester United and Southampton.
Yeah, and it's all Arsenal in this game. I really fancied Fulham ahead of kick-off. I don't now. And I think really Fulham have got to be careful that they don't get battered here. They've got Arsenal on a going day, and they just look irresistible. And some of the interplay, but it's more that the ideas. They know exactly what they want to do, how they're going to go about it. I just think they're really, able to take advantage of poor play and this setup of Fulham 4-2-3-1. But I'm worried that Harrison Reed and Sasha Lukic are just too narrow. Where do they think play's coming? He's not coming through the middle. Anyway, a long ball forward, but this time it's no chance for Martinelli to get there, and out comes Bernd Leno. Sometimes I think, Paul, you've got to think on your feet. Marco Silva's setup is not right for this game.
Well, it's not, and the stats bear that out. I mean, Fulham haven't had a shot on or off target. They've not touched the ball yet inside the Arsenal penalty area, and they've had 36% possession, whereas Arsenal have had 4 shots, 3 of them have been on target, and they've scored twice, and they've got nearly double Fulham's possession. So whatever Arsenal have done since the start of this game, it's working, and Fulham are just, they're creeping further and further back towards their own penalty area. Arsenal could really put this game to bed long before half-time.
Yeah, so one team knows exactly what it's doing. One team's been put out there with a hopeful idea that somehow, they'll be able to cope. They're not, and they just can't get on the ball. I mean, sometimes, after a goal or 2 goals, and don't forget Fulham at home, you see them grit their teeth, get stuck back in. They can't get hold of the ball. Here is Xhaka now playing through the middle. That's a really good ball from him to Bukayo Saka, who has got Robinson close for company. Finds Odegaard. He was ill in midweek, but he not had to be at his best today. He's had to do nothing really. Bobby Reid picks it up again. He's very narrow, and he's lucky to get it back, but he does. And then Thomas Partey puts the foot in and just tickles the ball away, and yet again it all comes to nothing. I mean, we've got to give great credit to Arsenal. They might win a title this season. There'd be no disgrace being beaten by this team. But it's just the manner of it, and I think Fulham fans will be thinking, well, how are we going to approach it? What do they need to do? So, Paul, what would you do if you're the Fulham coach at this point?
I think it's a very difficult one, isn't it? With bang on half an hour now, 30 minutes on the clock. I mean, you don't want to start thinking about damage limitation yet, but then you sort of think, if they just leave it as it is until half-time, then potentially there could be another goal here for Arsenal. Fulham have got to try to do something to close out the middle of the park, but I'll break off from that because Arsenal, well, they were on the attack, although on this occasion Ream does manage to stop Trossard. But I think they've got to have an extra body in midfield, whether or not that means telling Andreas Pereira just to sit a little bit deeper. But right now, when Arsenal are in possession, there's just complete freedom for Arsenal in the middle of the park.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be thinking maybe about matching them up and going 4-3-3 and just then, come on, let's take a man for man, and he's your man. Something simplistic for them to get a grip on. But at the minute, they're a million miles away from where they want to be. Mick Jagger, an interested spectator watching on, and if that's his little lad, then he's got an Arsenal baseball cap on, so we know where his allegiance is, perhaps. Anyway, Fulham 0, Arsenal 2, and I guess he'd be happy. But if you're one of the Fulham faithful with a season ticket, you'd be thinking, well, we want to do a little bit better than this right now. Pereira, though, picks the ball up. Maybe this is going to be the turning point as he flicks the ball back on his inside to Harrison Reed, and then to Lukic. And then now Tim Ream moses over the halfway line, who I guess with no Kearney, he'd be the skipper today, looking for his arm. I can't really see it. Anyway, again, Fulham on the ball again, Harrison Reed, and just for the moment, Arsenal have just decided to dig in. They look like they're taking a breather, Arsenal, don't they? It's been a lightning start. They're 2 goals to the good, and it's been great for them. Solomon's ball back to Robinson. Slight miscontrol. Again, Manor Solomon on the ball. He's been electric recently, scored some good goals. He's only on loan from Shakhtar. I thought he was a little bit older than the 23 years of age that he is, but he seems to have been around a while, and you know, he's certainly come of age this season, and if he can hack it in the Premier League, then he can hack it anywhere. As Ream finds that Robinson just steps over the ball. Bukayo Saka, he will certainly chase back and help out. He, of course, was drafted in at sort of left wing back at times in his early career. Well, it seemed a bit of a waste at the time to me, when he's a better inside right than he's a left wing back. But it just shows that he's happy enough chasing back, and he's got a good engine on him. As Robinson this time runs past him, and Saka's got to get back in there. Solomon, though, looking to get his shot away, and he does. Ooh, was it a shot? Was it a cross? I'm not even sure he knows.
Well, it's one of those that probably had a little bit too much pace and was a little bit too low to be a cross, but at the same time it wasn't quite accurate enough to be a shot. And yeah, it's sort of neither one nor the other in the end. I think it's probably closest to getting to finding Deckled over Reed, but I don't think it was ever aimed for him. And there's not enough curl on the ball, as we can see there as well. But he's probably had a frustrating half an hour. Manor Solomon's hardly had any chances to get forward at all. So he saw a bit of the goal. He thought he'd have a go for it.
Yeah, he scored some brilliant goals from exactly the same position recently, curling them in. So maybe that was on his mind, and maybe also thinking about the pass, but clearly caught in 2 minds there. Anyway, Fulham getting on the ball a little bit more. I guess Marco Silva, a penny for his thoughts. I'm not sure. I think he's had a good season. There are many who really rate him. I'm not sure necessarily.
Well, I think you have to say that, considering that Fulham have been the archetypal, them and Norwich have been the archetypal yo-yo side over the last 3 or 4 years, they have made a much better go of it this season. They've not really been threatened with relegation at any time throughout the season. They started well and have carried on. You know, they're on 39 points as it stands today, so potentially 1 point away from that magic 40, and we still have 11 games left after today. So they've had a good season in that regard. Whether or not there's been enough progression, whether or not there's the style of play is completely ironed out, that's something that I think will come with time. But here come Fulham now. They've got possession at the edge of the Arsenal penalty area.
Yeah, they've had a good season, that's true. As Kenny Tete lost one in the air. Keeper comes out. He didn't get everything he wants out of that, does Ramsdale. And then he's having a bit of a moan as Saka now just really cool and calm in possession. And Odegaard as well. Saka back on the ball, and it's lovely, silky, smooth football this. As Arsenal come forward down the left-hand side. Zinchenko now driving the team out to the left-hand side, and there is Martinelli got to go fetch the pass, and Kenny Tete keeps him honest again. Xhaka first-time ball to Zinchenko, and again they're just dominating the midfield area. Partey gets it out of his feet to Saliba, then White, and then Odegaard has gone a little bit wider here. Saka just a touch back to him. The ball flicked forward. And then it's Fulham who pick it up. I I saw Saka and Eddie Nketiah on the Football Focus last week. Really interesting. The little chat with those two. There's a little step over here. Granit Xhaka into the box. And his touch lets him down. He toe-ends the ball away from it. It should have been 3-0.
It would have been one of the goals of the season. Fulham give it away. It's a terrible pass out from Adebayo. Picked up by Thomas Partey. Odegaard takes a touch, dummied by Xhaka, and then it's Trossard playing it back to Granit Xhaka. All he's got to do is stroke it past the keeper, but he doesn't realise how close Leno is, and suddenly the fact that he's a defensive midfielder was very obvious there because he didn't know how to behave at the edge of the 6-yard box. But such a shame for Arsenal as here come Fulham now with Robinson at the edge of the area, but his pass is behind Solomon and picked up by Thomas Partey. Just to tell you, by the way, the plot thickens at Old Trafford. It is still goalless between Manchester United and Southampton, but United are down to 10 men after a straight red card for Casemiro after a VAR review. So the Brazilian shown a straight red card. There's still goalless between United and Southampton.
Yeah, getting back to where we were, like Football Focus, and it was interesting that Bukayo Saka said, they were saying, well, you know, who were you wowed at in training? And he said it was Mesut Ozil for him, who just had special tricks and what have you. But that football, that was as good as anything we've seen this season, and it's unfortunate for Granit Xhaka. He just couldn't finish it off. But I don't know what he was thinking about or how he expected that ball to end up.
In an ideal world, maybe Trossard would have dummied it for Xhaka, and then Xhaka would have played it into Trossard. He probably would have done a better job of finishing that. But more chances for Arsenal. Here come Fulham now. But again, Mitrovic barely had a chance to get a touch on that, and he's dispossessed by that man again, Xhaka. He really is having an exemplary game in central midfield today.
He is, and he drifts off left, and you know, it's weird, isn't it? Because I think in terms of goal scoring, he thumps the ball hard from the edge of the area, but there when he needed a bit of finesse, he just couldn't deliver. For Eddie Nketiah, he said Santi Cazorla, who he did have a good sort of twist and turn. He had a good ability to beat a man, and you know, I think that was something that impressed him.
Yeah, well, Cazorla and Ozil both had the ability to pick out a pass from nowhere, so it doesn't surprise me they could do even more of that in training. As here come Arsenal now, it's Martinelli, leaves it for Trossard. Trossard trying to pick his spot, and he puts it wide. Well, that really should be 3-0 to Arsenal twice in the last minute or so. On this occasion, it's somebody you would expect to do better in front of goal. Trossard, he almost had too much time, and he just couldn't find the target.
Yeah, I mean, just incredible stuff there. The step over from Martinelli was great, and then Trossard has gone ever so close to making it 3 there. You've got to give a bit of credit to Tosin because he's blocked off the goal to some degree. And in hitting it wider, the defender's wide of the goal frame. Football's weird, isn't it? Because, you know, who would you have in your team of the season? Probably Casemiro, who's been sent off today. That's not going to help them. Maybe Phil Foden. Yesterday, he was terrible.
Didn't do much yesterday at all, Phil Foden, absolutely. And I think it's been a problem for City players in general. When you look at the levels that Haaland had in the first 2 months of the season, he's dropped from that level by quite some way as well. Yeah,
still managed a goal yesterday, though, didn't he, from the penalty spot? Tucked it away fairly nicely. Anyway, Arsenal look as good as anything I've seen this season. You know, midweek I did Bayern Munich Champions League. I just thought incredible, and what they got off the bench as well. You see a long ball there, looking for Kenny Tete, who's over hit, and it'll be a throw. You know, when you can bring the likes of Gnabry, Yao, Cancelo, players like that off the bench. Arsenal went 2 goals ahead since October 2019. 47 games, 47 wins. So, seemingly unlikely to be... They're not Bournemouth, are they? Let's put it like that.
No, as I say, 3.5 years of Arsenal scoring, of Arsenal having a 2-goal lead in a game and not losing or not drawing that game. I mean, I think it's a stat you'd expect most Premier League teams to do well with, that stat of being 2 goals up. But to be in a position where for nearly 4 years, 3.5 years without having... Any points dropped from a 2-goal lead is a very impressive stat. It just shows you that even because in periods of those 2 years they've not actually been the strongest side, but once they're in front, they're a very difficult team to catch.
Yeah, good front runner perhaps. You know, and obviously Arsenal fans will know that in contrast, Bournemouth had been ahead 3 times this season, 2-0, and lost 3 times, 1 4-3 and 2 3-2s, and yeah, it's must be pretty galling for them, but they got a good result yesterday that took them out of the bottom 3 as Fulham come forward now. Tim Reamer ball to Mitrovic. Can he hold off Saliba this time? Just about. Ball goes back to Tosin. He flicks it out with his feet for Harrison Reed. We haven't seen much of him. Tete now, Fulham. in the opposition half, as again Arsenal just take a little bit of a breather. But they're 2 goals to the good, and they've every right to just take a little bit of a spell now, regathering themselves. And Mitrovic, just a ball flicked away by Saliba, but he goes to retrieve it, the Serbian, and he goes back into midfield for Lukic, and then Darabioyo again just drops his shoulder there, but he gets a bit of a nosebleed, and then he finds Kenny Teti behind him. Then Reed, they can pass the ball well, and they can keep it well, Fulham. It's been part and parcel of what they've done, and their DNA. Maybe last 10 years they've been a good passing football side. But they're not going anywhere, Paul. They're going sideways and backwards.
They are. They've, as you say, they've exchanged about 20 passes now, but they've gone from maybe sort of 10 yards ahead of the Arsenal penalty area, back towards their own half, back towards the halfway line, and now an attempted sort of flick from Andreas Pereira doesn't work out, and Arsenal have the ball back anyway. But credit to Pereira, he's closing down here on Ramsdale, and Ramsdale has missed it.
He has, and now the ball, it's chipped, and it was too acute an angle there for Pereira to deal with. Could he really have put his foot on that, done something else?
I'm not sure that he should be shooting himself there. I mean, Ramsdale was far too casual there. But look at Mitrovic. Just try and play it across to Mitrovic. And although there were Arsenal players tracking back into the box, but that is a terrible pass from Ramsdale. He sort of tried to flick it with the outside of the boot, and he's about 5 yards short of where it needs to be.
Yeah, it's a terrible effort from the keeper. But Pereira tried to chip it over him and into the back of the net from an acute angle. Just couldn't quite get that right. Maybe. I mean, if he puts his foot on the ball, then I think he gets blocked. And then he even finds it difficult to get a pass away and would wonder why he didn't go for it. So it was probably the right thing to do. He just didn't quite execute that. But it remains Fulham at 0, Arsenal 2. You're listening to independent off-tube studio commentary of what's been a masterclass, really, from Arsenal as Partey picks the ball up now. Just steps aside from Pereira. All the time in the world, no great rush now for Arsenal. They've been playing sort of quick, slow today as Partey picks it up. And again, Fulham just ball watching. Harrison Reed should have been biting at the ankles then of Thomas Partey. Just let him go. But they win the ball back. Lukic goes back to Tim Ream, who's under pressure now from Trossard. Ball goes further back to Leno. Decides he's going to clear it, but it's headed back where it came by Gabriel. And Zaka reads it quite well. Martinelli brought down in midfield, spotted by referee David Coote. That'll be a free kick for the Gunners.
Yeah, still a long way from goal here, but Arsenal will be very happy with the set piece. It just slows things down. Fulham have been seeing a bit more of the ball recently. They had that half chance a moment ago where Ramsdale had misplaced his pass. So anything that Arsenal can do just to try and disrupt that. But I'll tell you what, there's a face of thunder there on Marco Silva. I think the Fulham players might get a bit of a roasting at half-time.
I don't like Simu set them up. I think he might be angry with himself. Also, if you know that something's not working, and right from the get-go they were getting beaten up, I think, well, do you know what? You have all your tactics, you set them out like that, and then you know it's wrong. So what do? Do you sit on your hands and wait for half-time? Seemingly, that's what he's done, and I can't make him a good manager for doing that. As the ball into the box is headed away by Tosin, it breaks back to Martinelli, just goes back to Odegaard, and now just happy with Zinchenko dropping into the middle there to play it away, and then Saka, who's had a good game, he hadn't really need to be great, finds Ben White. He now can put pressure on Robinson, but there's always an out ball. Just at the edge of the area again, a little flick to Saka inside the box, unmarked. Again, Fulham really guilty of ball watching. A ball crossfield, and it's stroked. I think Leno maybe got a hand on that from Martinelli. Looked like it was going to be number 3, that. And still the line's not cleared, but this time the ball breaks. Bobby Reed now has got a bit of space and time, and eventually he runs into one too many. Needed to make his mind up sooner than he did, and eventually got robbed.
Well, he did, but that chance, I mean, it was, once again, Ramsdale making a bit of a mess of things right in his 6-yard box, being closed down there by Decordova Reed. Eventually he has to shank a clearance out for a throw, but it's closer to the halfway line, so he won't mind that too much. But what about that ball into Martinelli from the right-hand side? It came out of absolutely nowhere as well. Yeah,
I don't quite know how he didn't score. Did Leno get a touch? I thought maybe he did save that. It was a funny angle for us to know how much Martinelli got on the ball. Was it a save? Was it an effort on target? We need to see that again, as there's a foul in the middle of the park.
Clumsy that from Thomas Partey.
Right, we're going to get another chance to see what just happened and how Martinelli missed his opportunity.
Well, it's Bukayo Saka that laid the ball off, and it's actually a left-footed cross from Ben White. Absolutely fantastic from Ben White.
Save.
It is a great save from Leno, because he's already flying towards his near post, and he has to sort of get his left arm out, and he almost sort of pats it away. It's a really, really good save from Bernd Leno. He had a lot of critics when he was at Arsenal, but you have to remember that he is actually a very able goalkeeper, and he's proven that more than once for Fulham this season.
Yeah, absolutely. He's a good keeper, and we saw that in that save. It's tremendous technique from Martinelli as well. You know,
great ball from Ben White as well.
Yeah, it was a lovely ball from him. Floated over the top. Martinelli again by himself. You know, and he hits it into the ground. It bounces as Mitrovic now trying to get Fulham back in the game. But although he wins his header, he can't win the second ball as well. And eventually that will be blocked away. Leandro Trossard now looking for a big out ball. Saka by himself. Tossing forced to go back to his own goalkeeper there. We're into 2 minutes of added time at the end of the first half. And, well, Arsenal have been so impressive. I mean, had it been 3 or 4, I don't think it necessarily would have flattered them, because they've played some brilliant football. They've swarmed all over Fulham, and Fulham have got nothing to show for this half, quite rightly, because they've been beaten up.
They have. They haven't really been able to get into the game, Fulham, even in this sort of last 15-20 minute spell where they have seen more of the ball, where it's not been as easy for Arsenal. Arsenal still had chances. They just win the ball back in midfield again.
Here they go again. Martinelli gets to break, and he's got Trossard at the edge of the box, puts the cross in, and then now another opportunity. Odegaard thumps it in. That's three and easy. How many players in the box then? The marking from Fulham is shocking. They're just watching players pick up good ball, and there we go, 3-0. And I'm afraid for Marco Silva, I mean, he just sat in his hands. He was waiting for half-time. It's almost like he was never going to come. He looks crestfallen, but his team are going to be 3-0 down, and, you know, they don't come back from 2-0, never mind 3-0.
No, this is, I mean, it starts off with a throw for Fulham on the halfway line. It's played to Pereira. He lets the ball bounce. Thomas Partey heads it away from Andreas Pereira. Bukayo Saka spots the run of Martinelli on the left-hand side. He rolls it into Trossard. Nobody's offside. Trossard's ball is over the head of Robert. That's the second or even third time today that Anthony Robertson's been in the wrong place trying to jump for a header and missing the ball completely. But once it reaches Martin Odegaard, it's almost like a sort of walking penalty where he's got all the time he needs to set himself, and then he fires that with the left foot off the laces into the bottom corner, and 2 goalkeepers aren't going to save that.
No, I'm afraid for Robinson. I mean, you're quite right. You know, he looks behind him and he sees Odegaard, and I think, who do you think is going to score the goal if you miss your header? Anyway, enough of that. The referee's seen enough, and so too the Fulham fans. It's Fulham 0, Arsenal 3 at half time.